Here's a lockpick. It might be handy if you, the master of unlocking, take it with you.
Looting through the rubble, leaving cities war-torn, still incurring more scorn. Ragged and I'm forlorn, trying to unlock this. Open with my lockpicks, punching with my second hand every time the clock ticks.
Alright, there you go.
Alright, let's see if we got this going. We're going to go into the chat room here. Here we go. I have things mostly fixed now, so it should be very interesting. Hi everyone out there. I'm sorry for once again streaming super late. And I'm also going to be sorry in advance. This is going to be yet again one of those episodes where we're probably not going to go on for very long. But it will be very interesting because I'm so glad that Night Owl was able to let me borrow this. Give me one moment because I can hear that the audio is coming through, and you'll probably notice this change of scenery here. I'm just going to turn off my auxiliary here. Come on. There we go. Still recovering a bit from the flu that I had. All the symptoms are gone. It's just I have a bit of a cough left. So hi everyone out there. I'm a mess. This mess is known as Sidepocket. I'm one of the two co-founders of DCG 201, formerly known as DC 201 or DEF CON 201. We're one of the many DEF CON groups across the nation around the world. And if you want to know more about us, and we're going to look at some of these in a bit, right here is our blog. So yeah, I got the chat working now. But our website, we're still going through a lot of stuff with it, but that's our blog's going to be, so our next meeting, it's either going to be on the 17th or the 24th. I've lined up everything. I just need to talk to the venue that we plan on hosting at, and everything should be all hunky-dory. So expect either on Wednesday or Thursday for us to make an announcement of our meeting and what's going to be contained. I can tell you right now that it's going to be an interesting fusion of African-American technology topics as well as just the general theme of love. So the meeting's officially going to be titled Black Hat for Black Lives. It's going to be our return to forums for hybrid both online and in-person meetups. It's going to be really awesome. So make sure to check out our blog for that. And we're also going to be updating articles throughout the rest of the month on just various different things that are going on in the tech world, as well as just announcements from our group. Again, we're trying to use it more, and pretty soon we're going to go back to doing Capture the Flag or CTFs. And in fact, there's a another show that I want to spin up that's kind of in that theme that's going to be very useful with this. But if you want to talk to us and reach us out, until we get all of our other stuff set up, like our IRC and stuff, there's our Discord that I just posted in chat. We're also on a lot of different social media stuff. Our most popular stuff is on the Dead Bird, the Elon Musk Dead Bird and the Musky Bird at DEF CON 201 NJ. That's on Twitter. We're also just DEF CON 201 on the winning Chad team, hostducks.social on Mastodon. We're also DEF CON 201 on Instagram, minds.com, and a bunch of other things. And a cool new thing that should be working now, but is going to be especially working next Saturday. So if you want to follow us on those social links, or you want to see other ways you can watch us on our live streams, we just posted the link tree in chat because you can't post the link stream on Twitter anymore. Thank you, fucking Elon Musk. Yeah. I think the way this episode is going to break down is I'm going to kind of intro what this show is, and we are going to kind of go into a little bit of like new stuff and the topic. And before I go into any of that, after I do the spiel, I'm going to explain where I am and why we're streaming so late, once again, because I feel like I owe an explanation. So, first of all, in addition to normally live streaming our meetups, we also try to do specials in certain shows. I have two ongoing shows. One of them, which I did last Saturday when I was even more ill, was called Crypto Barons, where we look at cryptocurrency and blockchain technology as technology. This is probably the more popular, well-known show called The Master of Unlocking, where I am a member of TOOL, that is TOOL, the Open Organization of Lockpickers, or as I call it, TOOL with 3 O's, not the crazy psychedelic band. This is the guild for lock picking and lock sporters and even locksmiths to join up. And basically, I teach about locks. I teach about how locks and various physical security devices work and how they function, and finding exploits in those devices and showing how you can lockpick, bypass, shim, decode, whatever, those sort of mechanisms. So what's been going on? We were supposed to, I know we don't really stream on Sunday for Master of Unlocking. I tried to move it a day early, and we're supposed to stream at 11, and now it's midnight, so we're technically streaming on Sunday anyhow. What's going on? Well, as you can see, I am in a hotel. It's actually a very nice hotel. And in fact, I wish I could have got the picture sooner, but I will post on my social media. I actually managed to find the server room in the hotel, and yeah, yikes, that picture. Basically, it's almost like a bad cartoon. It's literally labeled server room, and then there's basic bitch schleg, like SC1, 5-pinner door locks on the door to the server room. Stuff that I've been able to get through between 4 to 8 seconds. Single pin picking, not even doing like raking or anything. So that picture is going to go up, and that's really fun. But otherwise, I really like this hotel. The internet's kind of weird here. I have it direct plugged in, but the cord's over here, so I had to move the entire table. It was like a business table, and it's on wheels, so I rolled it over into like the hallway area for me to present. And why am I in a hotel? You'll probably maybe see this hotel more in the future. Basically, it's really goddamn cold. If you haven't looked at the weather, there's a giant... Basically, Canada decided to do a giant fart and make everything colder than a penguin's bottom. And I feel sad for people in Canada because I have a friend that's in New Brunswick, Canada, not New Brunswick, New Jersey. And New Brunswick, Canada, at 9 p.m. yesterday, on Saturday? I'm sorry, 2 days ago on Friday, because it's past midnight. It was minus 27 with a real feel of minus 57. So basically, the temperature up there was fuck me, and the real feel was no fucking thanks. In New Jersey and New York, it dipped all the way down to 3 degrees. Now, I actually was mostly inside. I went to the 2600 meeting, great ass meeting, had my face covered because I've been coughing phlegm and stuff. And now, of course, my nose decides to act up on the goddamn stream. I'm gonna wash my hands during the break so I don't contaminate things. But, as I see. And then I went to an entertainment event that was indoors that lasted till like 4 a.m. in the morning. And I was inside pretty much all that time. It was like minus fuck you, okay? The two things that killed me was, of course, as soon as I go over my symptoms on Thursday, Friday, that's when everything decided to go temperature. My day job, I work outside. So if you think the weather was awful, if you were in the northeast area of the United States or North America on Friday, I had to work out in that during the daytime. So I was numb. I had a massive migraine, and that sort of like... I'm not sick again, but it's knocked down my health. And it's still cold outside. It's right now in like minus 20s. So I decided that between that and over there that I would rent a really nice yet very affordable hotel room. Hey, well, morning to you. It's technically morning for me because it's 12:17 because I didn't plan to stream at midnight. So I'm going to be in this hotel until 11 a.m. in the morning. And I was supposed to get here at 3. And the idea originally was to stream at 8. And what happened is I don't know if it was because of the cold or just my life sucked. Again, I was in New York for the New York 2600 meeting, was in New York City all night afterwards. At like 9 a.m., when I was like, okay, I have to go to my storage unit, get all this stuff, and then check in the hotel at 3, all the signaling systems for the PATH trains that link New York City to New Jersey died. So normally I would go to World Trade, then take the light rail to the Seeker Hacker location where my storage unit is, have all that done. No, for me it's morning as well at this point. It's probably evening for you because you live down under. And even without the nasal congestion, I'm terrible at those Australian accents, so apologies in advance. But basically... so the only PATH train stations that were working were 33rd Street, Hoboken, and Newark. So my game plan, because I had to get the light rail, was I had to then take the MTA, so New York's actual subway, up to 33rd Street, and then I had to wait 40 minutes for a train that then went directly to Hoboken. then got on the light rail, had to transfer because since you're in Hoboken, in order to get to where I need to go, I had to go to a different line. So I had to get off at one stop, wait 20 minutes and get on the other stop. So instead of checking in at 3, I basically almost checked in at 6. So I was supposed to be like showered with nice hair and clean clothes and in this hotel room. And the only thing I got done was being in this awesome hotel room. I'm basically half dying. I took a little nap before I live streamed, and now I'm here. So that's why we're streaming so late. Because of this, the only thing I screwed up with setting up the stream today is we do have some videos, and you're going to be watching me load them live because right when I hit stream, I was like, oh, I forgot to load the goddamn videos up. So that's the only thing that's changed. So let's get into the episode. But 2 quick things before we get in there. First of all, I realized I was so distracted the last Master of Unlocking when we were at OS New York City live streaming that I realized I did a cardinal sin, which I'm going to update in the show notes for the episode, which is I forgot to do the intro about the rules. Whether it's this video, you're seeing it live, pre-recorded, a past video, somehow you can see me in the future doing stuff, please let me know what lotto tickets are. I follow the tool rules because even though this is not a open organizational lockpicker sponsored stream, or it's not an endorsed stream, like no one's paying me for any of this, wish. So this is not run by Tool, and I am a member, and I do instruction, but the rules that they have there should really apply to all Locksport, no matter where you are and where you're from, because it helps you, it saves your ass, it saves other people's ass. It's just a really good idea. So unlike the last episode where I screwed up, we're going to do the proper intro, and then I'm going to explain what this relatively short episode is going to be about. I don't think we're going to be going on beyond 20 to 30 minutes besides fuckery. So 2 rules. 1, do not pick locks that you rely on. You have no idea how many times when I do instruction and I teach lockpicking, even when I've gone over this rule, the first thing people want to do when they go home is they want to pick the lock on their front door, they want to pick the lock on their gym locker, their safe at home, whatever. Don't do it. The more you pick a lock, 1, it's more susceptible to those picking and shimming and bypassing methods. 2, you wear down the mechanisms of the lock, which means it's going to break faster and possibly break while you pick it. Also, you wear down your tools every time you use them, so you have a chance of breaking off your tool. And my favorite is when you both break the lock and break the lock picking tools all at the same time. So just don't do that, okay? Do not pick locks that you rely on, okay? And the second thing is do not pick locks that you don't own. If you're walking around and you're like, hey, that was that lock that was featured on that episode, it was called blah, blah, blah. Sidepocket talked about this tool, blah, 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 which I bought off of online. I'm going to try. No, just don't, as I said, keep it legal, but I kind of want to go in depth because, like, it's a nice shorthand, but I think when I try to do the stay legal thing, normal people that aren't crazy like me get confused, so that's why I go in depth. If you see a lock that you've seen on the show, or you think you can pick it, and it don't, you were not given permission to be on that lock. You were not given permission to pick locks on that property, so you're automatically trespassing in pretty much every state. People are going to be angry at you. The police are going to be angry at you, etc. Now, there is a section of Tool's website that's called Laws or Legal or whatever, and you can click on it. And for the United States, they will show an up-to-date on the legalities of different lock-picking stuff in different states. I can tell you right now, most states are okay, and in New York and New Jersey, it's okay, which is where I primarily teach. But in general, as I've always said when I talk about like the legality of owning lockpicks around, if you're out gardening and your child needs to be picked up from the Little League game, so you immediately stop what you're doing, throw all the gardening tools in your car, and take his or her equipment, and then drive off, and they get pulled over by the police because they like run the plates and think one of your lights are out, and they look in the car and they see a shovel, topsoil, dirt, and baseball bat. Like, what do you think they're going to think? It's going to be the same thing with lockpicks when authorities find you. So, to go over the 2 rules: 1, do not pick locks that you rely on, and 2, do not pick locks that you don't own. Every single lock that you see on this show has either been my approval, or in this case my mentor's approval, to to be used for educational purposes. I don't use those locks to secure things. They literally exist to help me and my students and others learn lockpicking and bypassing techniques and help better their craft in it. And because of that, I also give everyone permission in person with my own kit to do the crazy stuff that they do with the locks. So again, do not pick locks that you don't own, and do not pick locks that you rely on. Okay, just remember that. So before we go on a quick little minute or two break, what are we really looking at today? Well, last episode we were celebrating Chinese New Year, and we did the Mr. Lishi, which was awesome. I'm still playing with Mr. Lishi for Master Lock. I can't wait to get one for Schlegs and quick sets. It's so interesting because it's the best way I could describe the tool is that the Lishi is it's like an American or because we have Australians and Europeans, I guess, watching too. It's like going to a different country and you know how to drive a car, but you have to remember that you're in this country. You have to drive on what in your country is considered the other side of the road, and that's how it feels. It does the same techniques as my lockpick set. In fact, it does even better because it can decode the type of lock that's built for. But because of the way you have to tension and use it, I'm used to tensioning and then picking. I'm not used to tensioning and then picking. It's like doing the rubbing the belly, patting your head sort of thing. So it was an interesting experience. We got an open. It was great. But Night Owl, because he's my mentor and he's awesome and he's the lead at Tool and he's fucking crazy because we all are. It's just all different degrees of it. He also just randomly just decided to throw in a bunch of other stuff with that. And because I've been recovering from being sick, I'm actually happy he did because I was scratching my head figuring out what I was going to do this episode. So, since we covered China for Chinese New Year, we're going to take a brief look because I won't be able to do much, but it's going to be neat. We're going to be taking a look at a foreign lock company. Yes, we've been talking about Master Lock and Schlegs and Abises and American locks and Asa Alloys and stuff, but we're going to be looking at a company that it seems like a lot of pickers don't know about, and I didn't know about until Niall introduced me to them, but they exist, and they're very fascinating. We're going to take a brief look at the MIWALOCK Corporation, which is a Japanese lock company that makes high security locks in Japan. So, well, it's either there, it's going to tell you that the City Rake's the best rake, which is how you know it's like. So, even though I love City Rakes, by the way. So, what we're going to do is I'm going to put the music back on. We're going to take a quick break. Unlike other episodes, we're not going to do the hand cams. I'm going to be holding the lock up because we're going to take a look at some web stuff along with what Night Owl gave me. Because, again, it's going to be short. We're probably going to be done at worst by 1 a.m. in the morning. And, yeah, I know it's pronounced Miwa. My sinus is warping it so much. So I'm going to say again, Miwala. As I took Japanese for 5 years, so I know how to pronounce it. Mi-wa. That's how it's pronounced. There was literally a section where my teacher, because she born and raised in Japan, taught us how to roll their R's, and because of how sinus congested I am, it's probably going to come off bad, but I was the first out of my class to properly go la ran lu lan ro in order to properly pronounce that. So I'm very experienced. Yeah, no, it's MIWALOCK. It's just I'm so congested. It's like being filtered through all this snot coming out, which I guess means I'm British now. I don't know. So we're going to take a quick break. There's going to be some music for a minute, and then we'll be back, and we're going to take a look at this company because even though most people say, oh, it's MIWALOCK, they do high-security locks in Japan. They're a Japanese company that has high-security locks. They're a little bit more complicated and interesting than you think. So enjoy the music. I will be right back. All right, here we go. So, hi, we're back. I'm going to read chat a bit. By the way, if you like any of the content you see, even though this is going to be a super short episode, we're only going to stream for about 20 minutes more, so about 12:50, I would say. You can follow us on our main streams, Twitch, DLive, and YouTube. I will warn that with DLive, we're going to slowly depreciate this. This will probably be the last Master of Unlocking stream done directly through DLive. We're going to be moving over to the Odyssey platform. Our Odyssey page is already set up. We're going to be making a social media announcement with that soon. It will be fully available, particularly to watch live through live stream when the next Crypto Barons comes up this upcoming Saturday. But if you do follow us, we get a little notification. I cheer you on. It's pretty cool. We also stream. You can also check our YouTube out on tour through Nvidias, which we have links for in the link tree that I posted. And I'm trying to think of what else. We don't do Facebook currently because we just repost the YouTube videos on there. And we're also on PeerTube on Diode Zone because it's awesome. Also, I love a lively chat, just like what Dalp's been doing. If you have any questions or you want to talk amongst yourself in chat or you want to comment on how crazy my hair is and try to oinst whatever the hell my hotel room is, the Doxby or whatever, please talk about that in chat. However, if you're just here to watch me with crazy hair try to explain this whole thing, as I always say, keep looking and keep learning. So let me take a sip and I'm going to read the chat real quick. It's kind of funny in the fact that Japanese use a lot of high security locks, like even their wafer locks are high security. Lockpicks and lockpicking tools are illegal in Japan. I think that's probably a lot of different things. I think it really has to do with like a lot of their culture, where I think in terms of like physical security, they kind of like overkill it. You have to understand this is the culture that grew up with the realistic myth of ninjas, to the point where a lot of castles in Japan were specifically designed for anti-infiltration. Like if you go to a lot of modern relative to their time periods castles, like if I particularly remember, I think the Edo period ones, the floors are not directly connected to the building. They're actually partially suspended, and they have tiny bells, like reindeer bells, attached underneath them. So when you walk, you hear a very faint jingle sound, and it's designed so you can always hear people walking on the floor. So technically, no one should be able to sneak up on you. That's how paranoid a lot of Japanese people are. It's also really fascinating too, because the Japanese computer security world is its own animal. In fact, they have their own computer security and hacker conferences. Their big one, in my opinion, which I probably should have loaded up on a tab, is Code Blue, which is like super infosec. It is very fascinating. Put it this way, it was the first time I ever saw not only a live stream of a CTF, computer capture the flag. It was the first time I ever saw a CTF being streamed on Nico Nico, presented by Japanese cosplaying maids. And then one year, they actually got sponsorship, if I remember correctly, by Funimation. So they actually had their CTF officially themed to Ghost in the Shell. Like, I wish we could totally do that. That would be amazing. And Japan has its own security quirks. A lot of it's kind of influenced by, and maybe this is also partly with the lock stuff too, with like the Yakuza, where like, that's fascinating. Quick rundown, by the way, of like computer security, and then we'll go into lock stuff. In Japan, it's very Windows dominated. Obviously, they're still dealing a lot of Linux with servers, but it's very Microsoft Windows Azure. Like, it's kind of funny because in terms of gaming, PC gaming is a super huge minority in Japan, even though it's been expanding a lot recently in the past, like, 5 to 8 years. But in terms of, like, computer usage and, like, the actual, like, the infrastructure, it's all Microsoft. It's all Windows, Azure, things like that. So, like, learning, a lot of hackers are always like, well, why should I ever like bother with Windows stuff like PowerShell and Command Center and Defender and stuff? And there's countries like Japan who are super huge IT markets and stuff, that they're all reliant on that. They're barely on Linux. So that's why it's like my whole thing is like, while you should probably use the tools that you're most common with, don't be afraid of learning or putting in new tools, because you never know when you're going to encounter a scenario like that when you need one. It's also interesting too, because I always feel that Japanese people and like the society of current modern day Japan, and I'll read the comment section in a moment and we'll get into this lock, is very like, they're I hate saying this, and I don't mean this to sound like I'm racist or whatever, but there's really great stories on how Japanese people and Japanese businesses and societies have greatly fallen to social engineering. If I want to break it down the most simplistic way in like video game terms, I guess, there's a very big reason why the biggest online multiplayer game for Americans is Call of Duty, and the biggest multiplayer online game in Japan is the Monster Hunter series. Call of Duty, you're your own lone person, even though you're technically fighting in a group, but you're like, everything's about you, and it's showing off you and how flashy you are, and it's very individualized, it's very American, while in Japan it's the reverse, where it's extremely cooperative, which means you have a very good surface and attack level, especially if you know about like Japanese culture and society stuff, to weasel your way in. I mean, that's literally what the Yakuza does. The reason, I mean, it's not that the Yakuza doesn't kill people, but most of their business is intimidation, because they use those sort of social collectiveness to their advantage. In fact, if you go look up early ShmooCon, there's a really great early ShmooCon video of a presenter who accurately talks about like cybersecurity and social engineering in Japan. And there's an famous incident that one time happened where, and then I'll read the comments again to the lock, where there was a major bank and a heavily armored truck, and basically this dude managed to get a motorcycle uniform that looked very similar to what the actual Tokyo police use. That's why the Tokyo police are batshit insane. And with the motorcycle helmet, you couldn't see any inch of his skin. And basically, he pulled the armored truck over for inspection, and then claimed there was a bomb on it, and then tried to get back up, fake, tried to defuse it, and then was like, I'm going to drive the truck, give me your keys, I'm going to drive the truck off to safety, so that way if it explodes, it's only me as a casualty and not everyone else. He was stealing the money in the armored vehicle. But because of the collaborativeness and sort of that like ranking trust nature, he was driving off with multi-hundreds of millions of yen, and the police and the bank personnel and stuff were cheering him on as a hero, and they didn't realize until like an hour later when the actual Tokyo police showed up that they were just being robbed. And stuff like that makes Japan a very interesting place for computer hacking and security. So let me go read chat real quick, and then we're going to talk about the MIWALOCK. So eventually I'll get back to trying my Waha DS on film, and have my work on my PR. MIWA DS, that's interesting. Japanese cities also tend to be extremely dense, complex locking mechanisms with multiple different elements provide a large number of unique keys. They also have MSG and Kings of Flavor, Soul on Crack. Dalpa's Uncle Roger confirmed. Now I'm just having a large jar of MSG on. Well, you guys are the Vegemite people, so like, and everything tries to kill you, so cheers to Australia, and cheers to Dalp for surviving the biggest apex predator in Australia, which is the Australian Parliament. But yeah, the amount of dense population size means that they also probably have to make a ton of unique keys, which is why we're going to kind of get to the particulars of MIWALOCKs in a second. Also, it's kind of interesting to see their mirror with China, because while China has a lot of people, also has a lot of land that's running out of, and also there's not really much regulation. So like, again, like I said in the Chinese New Year episode, China has like almost two modes. They either just make endless clones of already shitty locks, or they have like really unique, insane high security stuff and high security breaking measures that just blow your goddamn mind. So it's kind of interesting to compare and contrast with that. So anyhow, let's go into desktop mode, and let's take a look about the MIWALOCK company, and then I'll show you what I have, because it's really interesting, and it's based on something that I still don't think that some of you haven't seen before, because Night Owl was very confident when he gave me this, so let's take a look at this. Alright, so as you can see here, this is the blog that I shared before. Again, we haven't updated in a while. I plan to update this on Wednesday or Thursday to announce our meeting stuff. It's going to be really cool. So, also, before we get into MIWALOCK, I forgot to say this in the Chinese New Year episode. Throughout January, our lockpicking once again had their charity raffle. We got to win a ton of crazy stuff, and particularly shout out to lockpicking dev who just made absolute beautiful picks and all sorts of crazy stuff that you couldn't win. I'm not going to air the raffle drawing because it's literally an hour long, and I want to go to bed in the hotel room. But I just want to read the post here. It said, big thanks to Logan on Discord for his efforts for the charity request, and Panda Frog keeping the website up to date and feature risk. Thanks to Boat for being, the voice of sanity on the forums, and the 58 prize contributors, which included, I'm going to read them all. I'm sorry if I fuck up your handle. I apologize. Mvgart, Antix, Bedino, Brandino, Bonks, it's like a misspelling of Bronx, CDKC, Sinok, Correct Genes, Chronolock, Daco, Dr. Weasel. I thought that was I read a comma that wasn't there. Don Pix, Down Under Monkey. That's one of my favorite usernames. I've seen him post once in a while. E. Locksmith, Fiberom, Jeffrey McGarry, Gravity Karma, Gloombursky, HV Logic, that's a name I recognize, Insteadily, JD, Jeff Burke, Joe Pix, Johncino 21, Lambda 2, who I hope to be featuring one of his stuff in the next 2 or 3 months, maybe even in March. We'll see about that. Lockpicking Dev, as I already said, made amazing crap this year. Lockpicking Webwinkle, Lock Sportsman, MC, Memorian, Mel Brooks KA, Mick 777OZ, Moki, Mao, Mick Picker, Mugatu, Nazwek, Nitiflor, Nolsu, I feel like I'm going crazy, Panda Frog, we follow him on Instagram, Peace Weapon, Plagsome, Picksmith, Purple Skull 435, Quickcomb, Rabeber, Raton, Ratioke, Red Wanderer, Sisp, Sepcluse, SGR8A8, Cisco, not to be confused with the database company that fails all the time, Solvi, Steve Dynamics, which is that sounds like a company from the 70s, Tuna, 206, Yabende, and Yagias. So thank you for all of you for donating to the charity raffle. They raised $41,709 for a bunch of awesome charities, and I'm not going to read them all, but I'm going to kind of semi-slowly scroll here. These were all the winners for all different prizes. Each number corresponds to a prize that one of the people that I read above contribute. So congratulations to all of these motherfuckers for winning something, because I was so busy and sick that I couldn't enter and I didn't win anything. But I'm hoping that in 2024 I will actually contribute to the art lockpicking raffle, and there's actually an episode about art lockpicking that I've been wanting to do that I'm either going to do in April or May, so that I can't wait to do that one. That's been cooking for like a year now. It's like that in the IKEA episode. So without further ado, let's find out what MIWALOCK actually is. Just want to read the chat real quick. Yep. Niall has entered the chat. So this is going to be the part where he's going to correct me on every single thing, which I'm very grateful for, because I'm really dumb, especially because I've been through a lot in the past 11 days. China similarly has a lot of really complex and manipulation-resistant locks, but the Chinese industry tends to imitate Soviet industrial methods, which emphasize production volume over precision, versus American Western industry, which spends centuries chasing interchangeable part compatibilities. Basically master lock in a nutshell. The result is many locks made in China domestic market are all basically unique, even from others. Examples the same model. Yeah, no, that's the thing, is the unique locks in China are really unique. The then there's also just the endless cheap clones. Hence the saying that even people in China know about and dread when they read "Made in China." So let's take a look here. So we're going to spend about like 5 minutes max on this. So it was interesting doing recon for what this company is. So MIWA apparently has been existing since 1945. They've been kind of like the premier sort of lock solutions for a lot of things in Japan. I don't know if they have any rivals, but it's really interesting what they've done. And a big thing about them now is that they are probably more notorious, especially globally, for doing locks for, ironically enough, and this was totally by accident that I'm in a hotel when I'm talking about this, locks for hotels. So they've been making a lot of partnerships, especially from what I can say very recently, with doing hotel locks and designs, and that's why when you look at their product list, a lot of their products are hotel room type locks, card readers, and like particularly for the international market, these almost exclusively are about card readers for hotels and businesses. So you can see you have like the actual RFID card, and then you have ones that are compatible with RFID with your phone. They have the ALV2 cylindrical lock, door control units, elevator card readers, perimeter access controls. Like a lot of their the issuing systems, a lot of their products internationally are about hotel locks and like locks for like multi-corporational, like doing master locking for multiple different businesses, campuses, and complexes sort of thing. The only thing that I was able to remotely find internationally, which I do have the PDF of, and in fact I'm going to copy paste it and put it in the chat since now I've chat running again, is this LS7 series in terms of their international markets. So this is going to be very similar to what we're going. Oh, I just realized something here. It's going to be very similar to what we're going to be actually looking at. And as you can see, and you're going to notice a theme. Something I've noticed with the MIWALOCKs is that when they actually design physical keys, they tend to like to use the entire side of the key. So, like I'm going to be showing later, most locks that we cover, because I'm in the United States and also just general globally, are pin and tumbler locks, specifically linear pin and tumbler locks, where you have all the key pins and driver pins that are spring loaded in an entire line, which is always uneven due to manufacturing, and you have a key that usually uses the top and bottom edges of the key to do the bidding with these peaks and valleys. And then you have, which is, we think they're in high security because we usually encounter them from the multi-lock brand, which are touted as high security, but these are more common in Europe. Another design is that we've covered before is dimple locks, where it's the same pin tumbler springs. Again, most locks pretty much use the same type of physics and setup, except this time the keyhole is sideways. So instead of doing cuts, the peaks and valleys, the bidding cuts on the top and the bottom edges, they're instead done on the flat sides of the key, hence the little dimple drillings. And that allows, that's the wrong side, to again move those key pins and driver pins into position to make the gap in order to rotate. And because of that, you would normally need different picks. So the thing that I've noticed with MIWALOCK from their current lineup of products is that essentially they're like, what if we did the dimple side stuff but include the peaks and valleys of the linear pin and tumbler locks? And then they're like, now kiss, or like, I guess this is Japan, so it's like they do the fusion dance from DBZ, and that's what seems to be most of their key lineups. And you're going to see what I mean when you see the lock that Night Owl gave me to drive me crazy, although there's a unique twist on this that is going to be really fun once we get to it. And we're going to have like 10 minutes left in this episode. This is like the closest I could find from their American International products of what we're going to be seeing here. By the way, as I already told Night Owl, if you ever see me cough and touch anything here, literally at the end of every episode, I sanitize everything. And because I also still demo this stuff in product, when I'm not coughing everywhere, I carefully, because I'm very picky, will do demos. And every time I do them, I sanitize before I go to the event, and I sanitize afterwards. So, Night Owl's going to be beating my ass over this, but I'm pretty sure he's confident and he knows that when I give all this stuff back to him later this month, everything's going to be sanitized by me when I hand this back over. So, you know, you're fine. He has his own key changing method, and this is like a neat, I'm going to zoom even more, like really detail of the pin tumbler system for this LS7 series. Now, what's interesting is when you go to the Japanese website, because you can find a lot of different things here. The Japanese website, corporate Japan, while it's still very hotel focused, it seems like they're a lot more focused on also just physical key design. So you see their dimple-like designs, but also a key fob system. So you both need the actual physical pin tumblers as well as the signal on the base of the key in order to look into. They also, it seems to have this focus on they have their own like delivery systems for their key locking systems. It's really fascinating stuff. And of course they have their own tile units and stuff like that. This is their product section. This is where they leak different stuff that they have. And click on one, you'll see what I mean. Again, a lot of this stuff is still hotel rooms, the smartphone stuff. Again, this is the whole key fob system they have. They also seem, which I've tagged as this partnership with this like cute little Japanese like Squishmallows type, like little mascot characters they've developed. We're actually going to look at the video of this sort of key fobbing system in a moment. I know, it's really fascinating stuff. Like basically, a night owl gave me this whole thing, and I kind of went into a rabbit hole, or dare I say it, an owl hole or an owl burrow, just going through and trying to find this stuff. I'm going to read chat real quick. I'm waiting for MasterLock to start hashtag MLM for MasterLock matters, because they are an MLM scheme basically. And yes, MIWA is very big in multifamily hospitality markets. Yep. So we are going to be watching some quick videos, and I'm going to show the lock that Night Owl gave me. But again, I didn't get a chance to preload them. So things are going to look a little weird because I'm literally going to load them live. So some things that I found that might clarify kind of like what they're like as a company is, first of all, there's a commercial with them. Think.
財産を守るために、命を守るために、幸せを守るために、その先のテクノロジーへ受け継がれる意志がある。Think Next Security, MIWALOCK.
DNA with the keys that I think is cool. It's also kind of funny too because you'll notice everywhere in Japan they're really obsessed with hands-free contact now due to very obvious reasons that we've been going through since 2020. I think it's just hilarious that they super highlight that stuff now. The second thing that we're going to look at is that check key system. So they actually have video tutorials about how all of their lock systems sort of work. And this is for the little mascot characters. This is like an interesting sort of key fob system that they're using. Again, you have to use both. It glides in, and not only do you have to have like the exact like lineup for the physicality part, but from what I understand, you also need the actual RFID signal that comes from this fob in order for it to work. And as seen here, it comes in pieces. And it comes with the instructions you have to put together yourself. So I thought we'd just for a couple of minutes just quickly watch this video how to assemble it. I'm going to kind of fast forward and click around a bit. And what you need is a tiny Phillips head screwdriver that looks like a number. I think that looks like a number 1. I think it might be. And of course, they also have the eyedrop one. I recently just got a multi-tool little system here. Niall says, Asa Alloy also developed a similar hybrid key system where mechanical keys could be retrofitted with bolt-on RFID key heads. I wonder if, like, has this been a trend, or is, like, this something that, like, they're kind of kickstarting this and, like, that's gonna, like, catch on? So, you know, it was already, like, interesting to see locksmiths kind of have to respond to, like, fully electronic locks, especially those hybrids where you can where you're supposed to unlock it digitally with your RFID on your phone, but then it's like, oh, what if your phone dies? You can still have the physical key, and all the crazy stuff with that is, like I said with past episodes, like a lot of locksmiths are trained that when they can't open their lock or pick a lock, that they just drill it open, and if they're unaware that it's electronic lock, they can get electrocuted and get sprayed with battery acid and stuff like that. So I wonder if this is going to be one of those things where, like, you know, like I wonder if this is going to be kind of like the way QR codes were, because QR codes have been around forever in Japan. I don't know if they originate in Japan, but Japan definitely popularized QR codes, and like now we see QR codes everywhere in the United States. But like by the time we started to you started to notice them on like advertising and stuff, like Japan had already had those for like 8 years running. So like, you know, I wonder if this is going to be one of those things where between Ass Owlboy and MIWALOCK that we're going to be sort of seeing these like retrofitted RFID systems. But potentially I could see in America to bridge the gap between the concept of the hybridization lock. So yeah, this is sort of, and you're going to see what I mean. They also have very similar, like the MIWALOCKs have very distinct keyhole systems. And there's a reason for that we're going to get into in a moment, because I'm going to revert back, show you this lock, and I'm going to show you, because I'll put it this way, I don't have the right tools to pick open this lock, but I did manage to find a video on someone who picked a lock in the same series, and I don't know if Night Owl's ever going to lend me the lock again, but it should be really, really interesting to see. I would love to to make the tool that you need to do this, because I would have made the tool if I hadn't been sick. Now I'm not sick anymore. I'm going to attempt to make this, especially because I've read theories about this, but I've never seen anyone actually make the tool in order to manipulate the lock. This type of lock that MIWALOCK makes. MIWALOCK makes. So that should be very. I'm really excited to eventually do that. That's why this is kind of like a cool little deep dive thing while I'm kind of sort of on like mini vacation, because I'm gonna enjoy the fuck out of sleep after this. And I still have to like shower and do laundry and stuff before I check out tomorrow morning. Like a mini vac. See, I'm literally on vacation and I'm still doing stuff for you guys. Like, you know, I was late, of course, because when am I not late? Technical issues, but like even on when I'm supposed to be on vacation, I'm not wishing this on myself, but you're probably going to see a scenario at one point where I'm probably going to be hospitalized, and provided that I'm conscious and physically able to do it, I'm probably going to live stream from the hospital doing this goddamn show. So yes, yeah, the false gating is also something I noticed, because again, we're going to take a look at this thing in a moment. So I just want to read what Night Owl says as I come back to FaceTime. There's been a trend in the last 15 to 20 years. It just hasn't filtered down to the consumer market due to the expense and management overhead. Yeah, it's the same reason why like the electronic locks, and especially because I'm trying to remember who's really, there's like one particular guy that I follow who's really trying to fight this, where like a lot of these electronic locks are like their secondary physical lock system that's not the RFID. They're just like putting in, it reminds me of gun locks where they're putting in just the cheapest shit. And so like it really does not justify, like you're paying for the RFID part of it, you're not paying for like the lock part of it. And so I wonder if that's going to be like a issue also going forward. And management overhead of managing a large electronic key control system, especially because most of the benefits are in the access control and auditing, which is more of an interest to a large organizations. Yeah, that's why I'm like, I wouldn't be surprised if maybe the first time consumers are going to be interested in this, hence also why Japan is in apartment complexing, because even in Jersey City, there's been a lot, like there's no more like new houses or even like general apartment flats. They're all basically hotels that you rent. And so I'm wondering if that's going to be like a more common thing going forward. So anyhow, the reason I'm putting the face cam is because Night Owl gave me this thing. This is very Japanese packaging. And what makes it interesting is the type, which is it's an ECHP-40.CY, which if I remember correctly stands for the cylinder type. Now, You should have seen the confusion on my face when I saw this, because he literally gave this to me in Night Owl fashion, which I guess is Tool tradition. He is basically like lock Morpheus, and he was like, no one can be told what this ECHP is. You have to see it for yourself. So he was literally just like, oh, it's a strange Japanese lock, and didn't tell me anything else. So you get all like the little packaging stuff. This is going to be very important in a moment. This houses the keys. There's like a little diagram system in the box that shows. Just don't want to rip this. Just basically instructions on how to actually install this, like in the door and whatever. And then we have the lock itself. Now, first of all, this looks like a detonator for a bomb in a Star Wars movie. Derek Letts says, unfortunately, the mechanical override is always a cheap, nasty, easy pick locks I've ever seen, pretty much, right? So, a lot of basic strikes. So, this is what I mean. So, it says here, it says MIWA, and this, like, now I get triggered when I see this sort of slot. It kind of almost resembles a smiley dimple lock. So I'd imagine a lot of people would mistake this for like a dimple lock initially, because it does vaguely resemble a smiley. And of course, this is the actual actuator back here, and you kind of slide this in. It's supposed to, I believe, work for the handle type doors. And unfortunately, you can't see it here. But if you're able to look in here, you would think, oh, it's just 2 rows of pins, and then there's dimple pins. So maybe you would have to like put a Y tensioner in it, which, hint, yeah, I also think that when it comes to electronic locks, they oversell the value of it. Like, I get the convenience of it. I'm not going to argue people against that, but I think they make it seem like just because it has the electronics components, that means it's like 8 billion times more like resistive to thieves, when in fact it actually opens up the attack surface area. So, you know, again, that's why we do this stuff, as education. So it's like, you'd think, oh, I just put in this splitter here and do that tension with it. And of course, mine's is really shitty, so it doesn't like properly collapse. And then as I tension it, I'd use a combination of like normal lock picks and the dimple locks in order to go in there. Now, I'm not going to go in there with them because I don't want to scratch and ruin this. But I will show you the keys, because there's a twist when it comes to this. So, from what I've been able to see with the keys, I was half right when I looked at, oh, let me put it in the little baggie that has a sticker on it. I was half right. So, here's the key reveal. Comes with 3 of them. Now, as you can see, there are dimple pits on the side here. Sorry, this one's flat. But on one side, there are actual dimple drill pits here. Pit bitting, just like a dimple lock. In fact, if I can get my dimple lock keys, you can see that these are literally the same type of dimples. So it would be a component of this, from what I can tell, where going in with dimple picks would work. The strange part is its sides, and this is the signature that I've noticed for most of these high security modern MIWA locks. Now, initially when I saw this, I didn't quite know what this was. I was thinking that it may have to do with a pin system. And from what I understand, I'm partially right. The reason why I can't pick this lock open with any tools, which besides not trying to scratch it, Night Owl's thing that he let me, is also why I'm not going to do it on air, because there's no way I could open this. I could line up the dimple side of the lock, so there's like 3 points you have to reach, one side and then the 2 edges, but I can't do the edges. And the reason is those little circles on the side are fucking magnets. Magnets, how do they fucking work? And what's really interesting about it is that they are not even, because that way it doesn't screw with the polarity. And so what's going on is that when you insert, I don't know why I put it back in the box. So what's going on is when you insert the key in, and it turns, it does engage those dimple pins, which is standard bidding. But what it's doing instead is that when you take the key out, it's actually the reverse of a pin and tumbler lock, where normally the springs push the pins into in varying lengths into the plug core it's drilled out in, and that's why the metal bits get in the way. And what you're doing with the key is you're pushing them out physically. That's what it's doing with the magnets. By default, the pins on the edge sides here and here, all the pins are pushing into the lock fitting, which is why you can't turn, let's put it partly in, which is why you can't turn it, because there's those little beats of metal in the way. So even if you push the rest of them out of the way with a dimple pick, what you need is those magnets, and those magnets will push those pins out of the lock body using, repelling it with the magnets, and that allows to push all the pieces of metal beyond the shear line, and you're able to turn the lock. Yeah, that's why I think Night Owl was giving me so there's a thing, where I've never met Night Owl or even talked to him on video, but I think it's more impressive in person. Because he got famous thanks to Twitch, the Bob Ross painting show, and he talks about happy little clouds. Night Owl has this thing that I like to call happy evil eyes, where he will give you something or explain something, and he'll have this look. It's like when Luke Skywalker says in Empire Strikes Back that he's not afraid, and Night Owl's basically like Yoda being like, "Oh, you will be. You will be." Like, that's Night Owl. And that's what his looked like when he gave me that, which is I was like, oh, there's a twist to this. I'm going to be in trouble, aren't I? So, yes, it's kind of interesting. I think it's really cool in this collection because most people in MIWA will just think, oh, it's the magnets, which are already confusing enough. I just move them out of the way. But unlike the other ones, which are usually pure magnets, or like the American ones, which only have the dimple bitting, you have to do both the dimple bitting and the magnets to open the ECHP-40. Now, before we end the episode, again, like I said, I don't have the tools. I can set the pins with the dimple locks. I'm not going to even try because I don't want to scratch that up. But I don't have any sort of magnetized system in order to show you how you defeat this. However, during my research, remember, I figured out the magnet thing before I found this. I've only been able to find one video from one awesome YouTuber 2 years ago that it's not the ECHP, but it's part of their EC series, which is the magnetized key series that MIWALOCK makes. And I'm going to play that video. I'm going to have it mute for the most part, but I'm going to skip around, and I'm going to show you how, let's go back to desktop mode. I'm going to show you how you actually pick this open. He's going to say his name in the beginning, and it escapes me now, but so shout outs to this channel. I'm going to put his channel in the show notes after this.
Hello, Legend of the Samurai here with the MIWA EC.
So this was the only video, and I'm going to mute it now. I'll link his channel in the video after this gets published. Of how this whole thing works. Now this is, because the EC series, this is a door cylinder. This one's pure magnet, so you're not worried about any dimple bitting on the sides. It's just the pure magnetic system. And as he kind of shows here, what they do is all the pins are already in the way in the actual plug cylinder. So when you put that key in, the magnets push them all out, and that way they're above the shear line and then open. Now, with the HP version, you actually have to also engage with the dimple lock portion. So what he managed to do, and this totally sounds like a sci-fi thing, and it kind of is, but it works, is he made what he calls a magnetic pick. And from what I can see, and he'll show up a close of it later, and as he says, he's showing how the magnets are uneven. That way it doesn't screw with the polarity, because all the magnets have to repel at their actual points. So you can't have each drill line of each parallel one line up completely even, because the magnets would cancel each other out. So they actually are slightly off from each other. So that way it doesn't interface. And that's what the red and blue lines are. So he's showing one side which he marked red at its base and one that he marked blue, so that he knows how to decode the thing. And so from what I can tell, the way it is, his magnetic pick is that he's taken a standard lock pick. It looks like a half gem hybrid, I would think, or like a really low thick hook, and basically has cut almost like a notch out of it, like almost he was making a notch pick, and then he placed a magnetized piece of metal right on the tip, and then welded it on there. And that's what he's using. I mean, I think it's magnetized on both sides, like a proper magnet. And what he's doing is, so instead of rotating, the magnets are already going to do the push and pull. So he's just going to one side, and he's moving it back and forth, and he's feeling what's sticking and what's pushing. And apparently what you do is, in the same way that we do single pin picking, get my lock picks out. So similar to single pin picking, where when you tension it, and he just doesn't have the Y tensioners in, by the way. So you know how like you feel around and most of them are loose, and then you'll find one that's stiff, and when you find it, you just press up on it until it clicks into place, and then that makes it loose. So it's like this one sticks, so it's like, and I click that one into place, and now it's loose, so that means it's out of the way. So it's like little things like that. So, like, that's how you would do that. Well, and by the way, that's the magnetic film, so he could see how the magnets were laid out. So you're doing the same principle, from what I understand, with a magnet pick, but what you're doing is, when you feel one that it feels like it's repelling, but it feels like it's resisting at the same time, you just hold the magnet there, and eventually it pushes that into place like it's a click. And then you won't feel anything anymore. There's no push or pull, and then you go to the other ones. And again, you have to also know which side that you're on. And I've never seen that before. I've heard people talk about magnetic picks, but it's usually something of like a weight. It's usually like what you see at Sparrow's website, where it's just a magnetized piece of metal and you wave it around. I would also love to test that with this, to see if one of those chunks of metal could somehow work on the outside to some degree. But I've never seen like a literal lockpick that's like made out of magnets. It's so cool. So as I said, he's using the same Y splitter tension, and then he's just going in on the sides with the pick, moving back and forth. And then eventually all those pins set. I think this is the moment. And they're all to shear line, and it's open. Now, what you would have to probably do in this instance is do all the magnetized sides first, and then once that happens, you would have to go in with your dimple pick and pick the dimple portions. Now, a thing that I'm kind of interested in is you probably have to also be really picky with the metal of your dimple picks, because you don't want your picks to be magnetically reactive, or it will probably disturb all the magnetic pins in there. So what I'd imagine is you would have to really source your dimple picks to make sure that they were not magnetic, that they were very neutral on the magnetized scale, so that way you don't end up resetting pins that you already set with the magnetic pick. It's such a really, I've seen I've seen locks use magnets. I've seen even locks use gravity positions, but I have never seen one like this ECHP that uses both traditional pin tumbler setting methods, in this case dimple picking, which would be especially unusual for me as an American, combined with using magnets, and to use an actual, and those are the little magnetized pins, and to use actual magnets for it. That's just amazing. And so that's kind of that for the video. Again, I'm going to post his channel in the show notes, including the direct video where you can see all this live with his commentary. Bravo to you for figuring this out. And we're going to go back to the chatting face, and so I want to thank him for that, and I want to thank Night Owl for including a bunch of goodies, including the MIWALOCK. Now I know a completely new lock company from one of my favorite interesting companies that I learned its language from because I used to make video games back when I was younger in Japan. So this was really neat. Thank you, Night Owl. He did give me one other thing, but that will probably be an episode for another time. So I know this was short and this was late, but that was it for our show. Thank you for watching Master of Unlocking. Just as a reminder again, do not pick locks. Not that I don't think you're going to encounter this in real life, although watch someone goes to Japan and then does it. But do not pick locks that you don't own, and don't pick locks that you rely on. Thank you for watching the show. If everything goes right, our next stream, I'm going to try to aim for the 19th. But honestly, it's probably going to be the 26th. We're probably going to have a back-to-back of the 26th in Feb and then March 5th. So, you know, yay for you guys having 2 weeks in a row of Master of Unlocking. But I'm going to try to aim for the 19th. I'll put it this way. From the 15th to the 17th, unlike today, which seemed like it was last minute because I was freezing and dying, I will put an alert between the 15th and the 17th of if we're doing the 19th or the 26th. I again don't know what the topic of the episode's going to be, but I'm already trying to line up. Maybe we'll finally do the IKEA episode on the 19th or 26th. That really depends, and here's a hint of if the pox mark that I want is properly shows up. So we'll see. But yeah, that's it for my show. I'm going to enjoy my mini vacation in the hotel room. Thank you all for watching. Hopefully I'll see you at the meeting that will be on the 17th or 24th. We're going to make the announcement this upcoming Wednesday or Thursday about all of that. And again, next week we'll make the announcement if Master of Unlocking will be on the 19th or the 16th. I can guarantee that on February 11th, we will be doing a Crypto Barons that day. And if I remember correctly, I believe we're going to be covering cryptocurrency technology and digital currency technology in Africa to celebrate Black History Month. So that's going to be really cool. Unless some crazy piece of news like Elon Musk sells his asshole for like 1 Bitcoin or something, then I'm going to have to fucking cover it. So anyhow, that's it for our show. Thank you for watching. If you are on Twitch, stay tuned because you're going to be forwarded to a different episode. And I just remembered that... there should be a forwarding thing. Let me check actually right now. There should be a forwarding thing for YouTube. If not, I apologize because there's actually a couple of good forwarding things that I wanted to do. So let me just double check here real quick. Hopefully I don't have the desktop audio on. Good. Alright, so where did my cursor go? I hope we don't lose the signal here. Come on. Just want to hit the edit button. No, I don't want to report. I want to edit. Here we go. Yeah, there should have been like a forwarding option. I don't remember clicking on it, so let's see. Show more. Language, category. I need to change that. Sorry, I'm just doing some quick things because again, if you're on Twitch, stay tuned because we are going to raid another channel and I want you to say hi to whoever the hell we raid. We're supposed to forward to, I believe, Lady Lux on Twitch. Sorry, on YouTube. And I sadly don't think I got the... Oh, here we go. Here's the redirect. Let me add that right now. There we go. Alright, so we're saving that. So if you're on YouTube, this should forward over to her amazing video. I hope to have her on in March. because I've been talking with her to see if I can get her on for an interview. I'm planning on doing a lot more interviews this year with other lockpickers and lock sporters to really feature a lot of their amazing work. But if you're on YouTube, say hi to Lady Locks for us. If you're on Twitch, I don't know who we're gonna go to. It might be a tech person. They might be a cool making thing. It might be some big booby VTuber. I don't know, but say hi to their channel. Otherwise, that's it for our show. Thank you for watching Master Unlocking. Hope to see you at a future episode of either Master Unlocking or Crypto Barons. I hope to see you at our physical meeting this month. Again, if you want notifications on when that meeting is, or you want notifications like when we're late today, we're actually going to go live, make sure to follow us on Twitch and YouTube and Odyssey and even DTube, because we're going to return to that in April. And all of those, I'm going to post the final links here in chat. So again, our blog, which will have an update to our meeting and stuff, will be on there. You can follow us on social media and those streams, Twitch Live, YouTube, Odyssey, PeerTube, and all of that on our link tree. That link tree also has our social media like DEFCON21NJ on Twitter, DEFCON201 on Mastodon.social, DEFCON201 on Instagram, Minds, GitHub, and all of that. And if I'm on there, if you ever want to come and chat with us, here's the link to our Discord. So again, thank you for watching the stream. I hope you learned a lot. Hope you have a safe day after the whole polar vortex that nearly killed me. Hack the planet, Dirty Jersey represents, and remember, yeah, even if you're able to survive super cold temperatures, expect all of your transit to break down like it did with me. Oh well, at least I'm in this hotel, and things are about to get crunked in this hotel. So, yay, finally, get to relax, mini vacation, and it's back to work hacking and my normal boring bullshit. Peace, everyone. See you at the next meeting. Say hi to whoever we raid on Twitch and Lady Locks on YouTube. Enjoy the music. Bye.
You